The reformer Martin Luther, arguably the most important human being to live for the last 1,000 years or so, his mantra was that the righteous will live by faith. This was the great discovery that changed his story and really changed the world. And it wasn't just that we will be saved by faith. It's not something that simply happens once. It's that it's possible to live by faith one day at a time. Everybody has a story. Everybody's story matters to them and to God. Nobody gets the story they want. Every story involves an object of our heart's desire. What is it that I really want? And then problems, and then conflict. How will I deal with that? Very famous psychologist Erik Erikson talked about developmental stages of life. And the first one, he says, in the first year of life, your job is to discover, do you trust the world or mistrust the world? And I would say the core issue isn't so much the world, because the world itself is a place of both great beauty and great terror. Circumstances, nature, that's fabulous, and also it will scare the pants off you if you're paying attention. The real question is, can I trust the Creator? And now a deep part of your story is, you will have learned about this before you can ever even put it into words. There's a book called The Psychology of Hope by an author by the name of Snyder, and this is what he writes. He's illustrating two different postures towards life. One, a posture of trust, confidence, hope, and the other one, a posture of fear, vulnerability, isolation. Let me illustrate through examples I've witnessed on separate airplane trips. First, there was Jenny and her mom. I would judge Jenny to be about 30 months old. She was taking her first airplane ride. Mom described the loud engine noises at takeoff and how they would be pushed back in their seats. And I'll hold your hand, said Mom. I'll be with you. Jenny and Mom were both excited and chatted away through the entire flight. Mom enjoyed how Jenny experienced things for the first time. She even took Jenny for a walk around the plane, all the while answering her questions or pointing out things. They were together. She was with her and they were talking. Jenny got scared when the landing gear went down, but her mom comforted her with a big hug and an explanation as to what was going on. Jenny and her mom were clearly connected and trusted each other. At the other extreme, consider the interactions of Teddy, age 3, and his mom. Mom put Teddy in the seat next to hers, fastened his seatbelt, and said, "Now, just sit there and be quiet. Mama's going to sleep," which she did. Teddy was obedient, but his big eyes and trembling little hands revealed his fear at several points in the flight. Mom was oblivious, however, to what was happening in Teddy's mind. If there were things he wanted, one would never know, because he sat quietly throughout the entire flight. No words or touches were exchanged. Teddy did not share whatever thoughts he had about things he wanted to do or learn. In many ways, he was flying alone. Do I live with a basic orientation of trust or of mistrust? And I begin to learn that very early on in my life. Now you might think about your story and what were you taught? Is this world a safe place for you to be? And it's important to come to grips with our stories and those lessons so that we don't have to be victims of them, because, of course, we're learning when we're very little, not just about our parents and not just about the world, but really about God. It's very interesting. Erik Erikson, who I mentioned before, actually wrote a biography of Martin Luther. He called it Young Man Luther. It was kind of one of the very first attempts at a psychoanalytic biography. He was largely dismissing Luther's spiritual experience by psychologizing it, interpreting Luther's defiance of the Catholic Church in his day as just really Luther's reaction to his own father. But for Luther, those issues went very much deeper. Luther was haunted, terrified by the thought of a holy God, and a holy God who would judge him severely. And so his dad wanted him to become a lawyer. These folks invested a lot of money in him, but he became a monk. But even living in a monastery, big eyes, trembling hands, God, do you love me? He could not stop confessing. His confessor would say to him, you're in a monastery, for crying out loud. How many things do you have to confess? And this went on for some time until eventually this great thought occurred to him, that the righteous shall live by faith, that God is a good God who wants to be connected with me. He is with me. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you, God says to Joshua. Luther wrote this. I've got one book about Luther that I was given when I was ordained. It's in a 54-volume collection of Luther's works. And the 54th volume is just called Table Talk. People would sit around the table, and when Luther would say things, they would write them down because they were so striking, often very, very earthy, as is the case here. And so there's a whole volume just of comments that Luther made sitting around the table. He said once, when I was into spiritual distress, a gentle word would restore my spirit. Sometimes my confessor said to me when I repeatedly discussed silly sins with him, "You're a fool. God is not incensed against you, but you are incensed against God. God is not angry at you, but you are angry with God." Luther notes this was magnificently said, even though as before Luther realized the good news of the gospel of God's love that comes to us that we seize by faith. A friend of his said to him one time, no doubt God is thinking, what more can I do with this man? I have given him so many excellent gifts, yet he despairs of my grace. God, sitting next to Luther on the plane, I want to be with you. I care about you. I want to know what's going on in your mind. I want you to talk to me. To be gloomy before God, Luther said, is not pleasing to him. He does not wish me to have a long face in his presence. Although I know this is still Luther, I am of a different mind 10 times in the course of a day. You ever find that? Like, I know what I believe, and yet I waver all over the place. But I resist the devil, and often it is with a fart that I chase him away. This is Luther. I might not want to let the kids listen to this. When he tempts me with silly sins, I say, devil, yesterday I broke wind too. Have you written that down on your list? When I say to him, you have been put to shame, he believes it, for the devil does not want to be despised. Luther says, what do you think it means when we're told that God gave to us his only Son? It means that he has given us all things and wants always to be with us. And so now the invitation is, whatever barrier that you face right now, whatever problem that you face today, I don't face it alone. I don't have to have a posture of mistrust and that I am unsafe. Together with God, whatever barrier comes my way. It's very interesting. One of the primary tasks of little children, gets studied quite a lot, is barrier work. And that actually stumbling blocks can be building blocks. When a little child has a goal, a toy that they want, an activity they want to engage in, and a barrier is put up there, they get very frustrated. Research shows this, no big surprise. It's also interesting, the toy or the object that is barricaded, that is blocked, is the one they want the most. To have it be blocked actually makes its desirability go up. We were made to confront with problems. Another interesting finding is when there is a good attachment with the parent and the parent is there, a child's response to that barrier changes fundamentally. And the child looks to that parent where there is that positive attachment for a sense of, can I do this? Will you help me with this? Yeah. So today, think about the barrier in your life. When problems come up, instead of just experiencing frustration or giving into fear or a fundamental posture of mistrust, turn and look to God. Now, God, today, how can you and I deal with this? How can you help me with this? And it can be tiny things. I'm getting ready to go speak someplace, and I realized yesterday that I had only handwritten notes for this talk. It took me a couple hours to write them out, and I don't have them with me, and I cannot get them again before I have to fly out. So I will have to try to write them out if I can remember them all over the next day or so. And it just felt so awful to me. This is going to take so much time. This is awful. I have so many other things to do. And then, of course, the thought comes, what a great test to see, am I actually living in confidence with God, in trust with God? The righteous shall live by faith. I can't be in control of, I can't magically change that circumstance. What I can do is decide with God's help, how will I respond to it? Now, there's a little barrier between me and the life that I want to live and the assignment that's given to me. And I can, if I want, say, all right, God, we will do this together. And I will not let it spoil my day or the next hour. I will heartily embrace this task. I will look for you to help me. Maybe some new idea will come that will help somebody out there that would not have happened if I didn't have to go through this. God, would you help me go through this problem in faith and not in mistrust? Everybody has a story. And every story involves problems and barriers and conflicts. Big eyes and trembling hands, but you are not alone. He is right there with you. Your story matters.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any future teachings from John Ortberg here at Become New. My name's Tim, and I'm a part of the team here. This series is all about stories. Everybody has a story, and everybody's story matters. And we want to know about your story, whether it's a story of coming to faith or a story of spiritual growth. Whatever it is, we're here for you. You can email that to us at connect@becomenew.com, or you can text it to us. You can also sign up for daily reminders whenever we drop a new video via text by texting the word BECOME to the number 855-888-0444. You can also send us prayer requests there. There's a team of us that meet to pray each weekday for viewers just like yourself. If you'd like to receive the emails that go along with each video, be sure to check that out at becomenew.com/subscribe. More than a video to watch, this is really a community to belong to, and we're so glad that you're a part of it. We'll catch you next time.